This is a wild world. When everything goes bad, nobody's coming to save you, and the government is definitely not your friend.
What is your take on why people don't prepare at all?
Getting started is the hard part, just like preparedness. Fear is an obstacle that everybody needs to overcome. Surviving is not comfortable. Surviving is not clean. We are closer to nuclear war in the world right now than we have ever been in any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis. There are going to be shortages. There are going to be food supply shortages. There will be power outages. To include the United States grid is really, really vulnerable. Bureaucracy will always slow emergency anything. So emergency is crisis response. Emergency is I have to do this now. Emergency is preparedness. Emergency is discipline. Emergency is hard work. Bureaucracy is anti all of those things. Keeping us on our heels is ultimately their objective.
If you were to tell every American out there on how many days they should be prepared for, how long would you say?
So here are the very basic things that we have to understand. How do we purify water? How do we get food? And how do we get power?
Hey guys, welcome to my PatriotSupply.com podcast. This is our first one. I am going to be your host, Jake Seawolf. And today we are interviewing our famous Tim Kennedy today.
Hey Jake.
How are you doing, Tim?
I'm amazing. You have a great name, Seawolf.
The Seawolf.
Have you ever seen that movie, The Seawolf?
I don't think I have.
It's old, black and white. It's great. It's great movie.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Errol Flynn.
Well, for now, I'm just going to have to work out till I get to your size. So that's my current goal.
How are things?
Good, man. Recovering from shoulder surgery just recently. So that's 5 months in, so I can only bench 135 at the moment, but we're getting back there.
Yeah. Well, bench should not be the metric of measurement for how fit we are.
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
I do the CrossFit thing. Don't tell the vegans.
Did you hurt your shoulder doing CrossFit things?
No, I think it was a combination of mountain biking accident, snowboarding accident, and then I had a bad parachute landing when I was in Morocco during a training. So
yeah,
those static line chutes get you.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, those are some good mechanisms of injury to damage yourself, though.
Yeah, seriously. I'm sure you have your fair share of static line jumps.
I do, unfortunately. Yeah, I definitely enjoy directional canopies a lot more. I was in the car and I was texting back and forth. We have a pretty good jump a couple of days from now in Salado, and the weather's lovely in Texas. So it's finally nice.
That's dope.
Yeah.
They don't let us peasants go to free fall school, so yeah. I'll just stick with
They got the civilian side.
It's true.
It's fun.
Spend all my money on scuba diving and mountain biking, though.
Yeah, those are also expensive things.
Yes, they are. But it's fun. Hey, so we brought you here to kind of talk about some world events that are going on right now. Some crazy stuff.
Yeah. This is a wild world. It's always wild. I mean, I guess since the beginning of time, we have brothers trying to kill each other with rocks. But now we can kill each other with nuclear weapons.
Devastating.
Yeah.
That's not targeted at all.
No. Yeah, so I have to, you'll forgive my brain, but I have to bounce between making sure that we can talk about all the things that we're going to talk about. When you're bouncing between rooms or in privileged communications, you have to not make the mistake of accidentally adding a journalist to the wrong signal thread.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I cannot believe that happened.
I can't. That's something that I would totally do. I'm dumb enough to just be predictably when you start typing the first 2 or 3 letters of somebody's name and how many Matts do I have in my phone? How many Matt S's do I have in my phone? I know 3 Matt Smiths. And so I could see it happening accidentally. I can also, with the current temperature of politics, see it happen intentionally. But yeah, we have violent extremist organizations that are currently in negotiations with the American government. Think about that. We have a terrorist organization, Hamas, that is currently talking about a ceasefire outside of the realm of the actual democracy in the region, being Israel. They're not part of the ceasefire communication because those things fell apart. So we're not talking politics. We're just talking how volatile the world is right now. Cool. There's one. Then we have cartels. We have gigantic criminal syndicated organizations that are negotiating with our government about, hey, if you give us maybe 1 or 2 of these things, we'll stop fentanyl production. We'll stop fentanyl transport and smuggling. We'll end fentanyl's coming into the United States overnight. They could do it overnight, but they definitely want things. So that's happening.
The amount of power is insane that they can run that. Deep.
Yeah. We have India and Pakistan on the verge of nuclear war. There's a ton of anomalies in that region, definitely indicating that this is not normal military posturing. This is real prepared response and measured response in preparation for all-out conflict in the region.
So the India-Pakistan kind of threw me through a loop. I had no idea they even had tensions. But
they always have tensions.
What is your thoughts like on who do you think started that one?
I mean, this goes back to the beginning of the history there.
Back when they're fighting with spears, throwing rocks at each other?
Funny you say that. On the border of India and Pakistan, they actually have a region, a zone where they're still only using blunt trauma weapons. So occasionally you'll just see like a big Gangs of New York fight happen between the Pakistan military and the India military, where they're not allowed to have guns. They're not allowed to have like projectiles. So they'll just be out there like hitting each other with clubs.
That is nuts.
Because they know that it will rapidly escalate. And that's currently where we are. So outside of that border zone tension, we have regionally really vulnerable moments in American history. We are closer to nuclear war in the world right now than we have ever been in any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Right now.
That's nuts. Pakistan thing's kind of weird to me. When I was deployed, where I was kind of close to the border, we weren't allowed to go within 15 miles of it or something. So we stayed more inland, as you could say. But a lot of the terrorist organizations that we had to deal with came down from Pakistan. So that was kind of wild.
Yeah, and you have bin Laden just like hanging out right next out.
Little summer home.
I mean, his home was immediately adjacent to their version of West Point. So like their military academy is in the city where bin Laden's home was. So, I mean, it's Pakistan on the harboring terrorism side. They're no Iran, but they're by no means are they out there hunting for radical extremists, trying to keep them temperate.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hey, let's dive into a little bit about the power outages through Spain and Portugal. What do you know about that?
Well, atmospheric anomalies, right? What a bunch of horse poop. What we know is the power went out, everything died, everything crashed. They're completely dependent on it. And I honestly, of course, we need to figure out, and they should communicate what the catalyst was that caused the outage. But I'm looking at it, it could have been anything. Our grid, to include the United States grid, is really, really vulnerable. And whether it's from terrorist attack, whether it's from atmospheric anomalies, whether it's from bad weather. Texas died on power during the snowpocalypse when we got a few inches of rain. Do
you think that was intentional at all?
No,
or just they legitimately didn't think that would ever happen, so they didn't weatherize
it hadn't happened in 100 years. And should you be spending the amount of money to prepare for something that doesn't happen but once a century? I don't know. I can't answer that. I'm not in the government to do the ROI of, is it worth us spending this amount of money on infrastructure? Clearly, they don't.
Yeah.
And we had fires in North Texas, we had fires in South Texas, and regionally entire counties were out of power because of a fire. We had high wind in Oklahoma that busted a whole bunch of wind turbines, and without that renewable energy, they didn't have enough constant power going into the grid that they were losing. Entire counties were losing power. Then you look at Portugal and Spain, where you have entire countries that lost power. No planes, no trains. They've been pushing to have electric vehicles, no charging electric vehicles. They'd been forcing to having electric stoves, and then nobody could cook their food. They couldn't purify their water. They couldn't they were put on a boil ban because of the sewage and water treatment plants are also run on guess what power?
That's insane.
Yeah. So then they had no way to even have pure water, and that was just in 36 hours. They were near chaos, complete societal collapse.
That is wild. That with 36 hours that you could be that close to collapsing an entire nation. I mean, we see it all the time. Like, people can buy their own power services and water filtration products. You understand, or what is your take on why people don't prepare at all? Even to just be alive for a 72-hour period.
It's a little hard. Because there's a little discomfort and there's a little bit of discipline, and people just don't do those things. We are creatures of comfort, and we have because of that, we've become complacent, and complacency and comfort are ultimately going to be the end of our species if we continue down that route.
You think it's just in soul that like people just love to rely on the government to take care of them, or because ultimately, I mean, that's kind of what I view from my end, is that people are just expected that big government daddy is going to take care of all of us, and then these things happen and they're not there to show up.
But they never are. When everything goes bad, nobody's coming to save you, and the government is definitely not your friend. You know, when we look at Hurricane Helene, Western North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, like the government was not there to help you. They weren't.
I mean, there were a lot of people that stepped in for sure, but even then, it still took a few days.
The people that were there were not the government.
Yeah.
Like when you talk to the people like me that were on the ground, and we were fighting the government to be able to go and provide humanitarian aid to isolated communities. Like the only helicopters that destroyed the humanitarian camp were military and government state helicopters. All the civilian helicopters that were doing air resupplies, they ran perfect missions. Like the only people that we were going to go deliver some food and some batteries to this, we'd get like effectively SOS messages, whether it was like they had enough power to, or they found a friend that had a satellite phone, or they had written something in the driveway. Ultimately, like we had a 5 W's, go to this place. And we go to like FEMA, like, hey, we're going to go here. Like, that's inaccessible. Like the only place that you can get there is by air. And I'd like slowly, awkwardly turn around and point to like my nerd Toyota Overlander that has a couple of rednecks with chainsaws. And I'm like, hey, can you get to there? He's like, dude, I was just there yesterday. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna load some stuff in the back of your car. Can you go back there today? Like, yeah, done. And off they go. And FEMA's sitting there like, wait, he can't do that. I'm like, what, you gonna stop the 2 dudes with the chainsaw? Because like he's going. And you know, you look to,
so they're trying to stop you from going and helping people.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So like they're not helping them themselves, but then someone steps up, actually has the willpower and the ability to do it, and they're trying to step in their way.
I mean, can you think of a time in history where a bureaucratic organization was the right answer in an emergency?
No. Doesn't ring a bell on me.
No. Right? Like just almost by definition, they're mutually exclusive. They're non-complementary. Like bureaucracy will always slow emergency anything. So like emergency is crisis response. Emergency is like, I have to do this now. Emergency is preparedness. Emergency is discipline. Emergency is hard work. Bureaucracy is anti all of those things. Bureaucracy is, hey, we have systems and we have processes and we have approvals and we have, like this authority and this authorization has to be spent for this type of budget to do this type of activity. When instead I'm like, give me them 2 dudes with the chainsaws and the Toyota. You know, like that's way faster.
Oh, yeah.
But that's harder and that has more risk. And again, risk is something that can't coexist with bureaucracy.
Why do you think that is? Because it's all risk at the end of the day, no matter what happens.
And the Pentagon is cutting 20% of their 4-stars because we became so risk adverse and in command and control. We were so against that delegation of authority down to the lowest level. We weren't letting commanders actually command because the commander would be too scared to make a decision because he had 25 other bosses that were going to be evaluating what he did. Like we have to give that authority back to the lowest level commander. And similarly, the whole entire idea of like the American person, the American citizen, is that individual responsibility. Like I have the authority, not because the government gave me authority, not because a book that says I have these rights said it, because it's a God-given gift. Like I can say what I want. And not only because can I say what I want, I can shoot somebody that tries to stop me, i.e. the government. Like that Second Amendment has nothing to do with like hunting or recreation.
No, absolutely not.
No, it's like
it's
gangster.
there to fight against tyranny.
Yeah, guns.
Yeah.
Have them. So it's supposed to be part of our culture and our DNA, and we've just slowly been relinquishing that out of convenience and complacency.
Kind of destroy the whole masculinity thing where you go out and actually help people out.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to, and it's still alive and well here at HQ in Utah. Where, I mean, I argue if it was total apocalyptic here, like there are some cultures and there's some religions here that take pride in being faithful in the small things. And they have food stored. They have seeds stored. They have power. They have the know-with-all to how to do plumbing, how to do electrical, how to fix an engine. Like it's intrinsic within that culture and community, and they keep those gifts and those talents prepared. And that's a beautiful thing. The rest of the country is not like that.
I grew up on a farm just about an hour south of here, where we're at, headquarters in Utah. But it's wild to me now that I've been like living in the city more, being like closer to Salt Lake. It's like I change my own brake pads, you know, I do all these things myself. And like people around me are like, you do all that? Yeah, isn't that normal? It's like, apparently not. Like they call someone to come repair drywall in their house, just a patch. Like you just slap some mud on there. It's not super hard. Like, but I grew up having to do all that. You know, I was 14 years old driving the truck on the farm to throw hay bales out before I had a license. And nowadays, like, or even up here at least, you get caught driving without a license, you're screwed.
Yeah. It's
But I mean, that's kind of a little off topic in a way.
No, it's not. We've taken with capability comes competence. With capability and competence comes confidence. You know, and those things are so intrinsically tied together that when we start taking those capabilities from young men and women, being like, no, you can't do that. No, you're not allowed to do that. No, welding's dangerous. No, we can't have shop in public school because like somebody might get cut. Well, okay, I got it. You're risk adverse. And because you're risk adverse, you took these really powerful tools that powerfully enable communities in more ways than just being able to build a bed frame. You know, like wood shop's great. I got that you can like build a little cabinet, but it gives so much more than just teaching a kid how to handle wood. He's handling power machines. He's using power tools that are really dangerous.
Have to think about what he's doing.
Yeah, and he's gonna measure not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times before he cuts. You know, like what lessons in life are there to take from that? You know, like
a really good disciplinary type thing.
Yeah. So I think we've deprived our society of that, and we desperately need to get back to it.
Oh my gosh, I'm with you on that one. Let's just let's play a little game. So pick an event, any event. How long do you think on average, from your point of view, does it take for every person that they can get to give them food and water to make sure that they are able to survive? Like 3 to 5 days, or would you go longer? Or
well, we have complete societal collapse in 5 meals.
So if you were to tell every American out there, like, on how many days they should be prepared for, at minimum, bare minimum, how long would you say?
30.
30 days?
Yeah. Like minimum.
That's like you need to eat and drink for 30 days.
That's right. And power.
And have power. So obviously, that'd be hard to, sorry to interrupt, that'd be hard to store.
No, it's not.
30 days worth of fuel for a power generator, though.
I mean,
for instance,
for fuel, if you're running constant fuel, but this is the fun part, is that like it becomes a game of chess. And when I said like people don't do it because it's a little bit hard, so you actually have to sit and think. You actually have to prepare. How much fuel does my generator run? How much power do my solar panels generate to put into my battery? Now, if I'm daisy chaining my gas powered generator with my propane powered generator with my solar powered generators, how long can I stretch that fuel out for? Okay, if I start shutting down life essential aspects of my life, so I need to keep my food cold. Cool, I need enough power for my refrigerators. I am going to have to be able to have communication, because communication movement is life. So whether that's satellites, that's radios, those are all battery. So I have to have enough power to charge those things, to talk to my community. So just on the power side, on the fuel and water, or on the food and water side, well, how long is it going to take for me to get in my beans and my rice when I have really good pre-prepared meals? Like maybe I'm using my pre-prepared meals for my breakfast, and then I'm supplementing my midday with, tons of good carbs and fats, and then another pre-prepared meal for dinner. So now I just stretched out by a third. Okay, can I take another one of those meals out where I'm actually only using one of my pre-prepared freeze-dried meals, and now I've extended my food storage by 66%. So like you can start playing with, okay, well, I also, where I live, I have a pond, like a lake that we stock. Like how much food is in there?
Is that like your own private lake, or you share with the neighborhood?
A small neighborhood.
Okay.
And like the neighborhood's on board. So talking with like the HOA, how much food is inside of that lake. If we fish
between fish, and then you can survive off the water off of it as well.
That's right. Well, if I have the power to purify it or the fire to purify it. Yeah, a lot of great little flow charts that can be created to start messing with how long can I get food, water, and power.
But not everybody has that luxury of like being in a house. Like a lot of people, unfortunately, like have to live in apartment buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
What would you say to them on how they could possibly store water and food and everything?
Yeah, so my pattern of life, I have chickens. Obviously, we have lake. We have a lot of regenerative food. Like I get a dozen eggs a day. Every morning I wake up and I got delicious nutrients of life that are just being pooped out by my little beautiful babes. And, I have my own well. My pattern of life is going to be way different than even my parents and my brother that are even more rural. And they arguably that their situation is like way more sustainable. Like 30 days to them would be like
Kicking the rocks.
so easy. My dad would be bored.
Doesn't even matter.
No, they got cows, they got elk walking across the property every day. They got pigs coming down to their pond every single night, and tons of them, like one of them fat pigs that my dad feeds because he thinks they're cute. Oh, Dad. They're pigs.
At least it's a few days of meat right there.
Oh, no,
quality bacon.
Weeks of food for the whole family off of one. So like you could stretch that out. And then you go to like some of the suburb areas. They're going to have different types of problems, but they're also going to have community where I don't have to store all of the things. Like that guy could store some things, I could store some things, and that family could store some things. And then we collectively, like, this isn't going to be in like real apocalyptic situations. It's not like the lone wolf surviving. Those guys are going to go away fast. There's going to be groups of people that will be okay, and there'll be groups of people that will be trying to get to other groups of people, and then there'll be the single isolated people that will really just will be lambs to the slaughter. Have you seen the modeling of how much power or how the percentage of Americans that would die without power in a year?
In a year?
In a year.
I have not seen that model.
Take a guess. What percentage?
80%.
That's actually really close. That's crazy. It's 90%. In 1 year, 90% of Americans would die
without electricity?
Without power.
How long? How long do you think? Like, are we talking like they would die in a month, a week?
I think about 3 months, you're going to see a big bell curve.
And that's after people have like been fighting each other with everything they have and killing each other?
Yeah. So like in that 1 year, you're going to see kind of peak around 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to have some right at the beginning, some right at the end, but like the vulnerability is really going to be kind of that mid-year 6, 7, 8. And it'll be a lot.
That's not even like mentioning the amount of violence beforehand.
So that's included.
After you survive the violence, you still have to find your food, water, and all that. That'd be nuts.
This sounds like so doomsday-ish, but I have a family of 4. I have a beautiful wife. Like, I don't live in fear whatsoever. I arguably, when I look at people watching the news and they have all this anxiety and stress, I'm really like not laissez-faire about it, but I'm really diligent and disciplined in the prepared aspect where like I have, what I have at my house. Like, yeah. So then I can really relax and know that, like I've done the thing, I've done the deed. I have months of chicken feed. Like if I have months of chicken feed, which is really only 1 cup a day, then I'm going to have 12 eggs a day. Okay, means I have to make sure my chickens are safe because if they die, I'm going to be losing calories and protein every single day. On the fish side, that I have sustained water levels, that I have enough bait source for the larger fish that eat fish. So like there is a little bit of work that goes into that.
Just a little bit though, not much.
Not a lot. No,
what do you say, like 1% of your time maybe, even if that?
Not even.
Like, getting started, it takes more time for sure.
Sure.
But then once it's started and kind of in place and implemented,
yeah,
it's good.
It's kind of like fitness though. Getting started is the hard part.
But it's just rep at a time.
Yeah, just a little bit. But then once you really start seeing gains, it's contagious, and you're like, man, this is really great, and I feel really good, and I'm sleeping better, and like my wife looks at me better, and everything about life just gets a little bit better. And then it takes a lot less effort for you to sustain those improvements and continue to make gains. Like, to get to like the Olympic level athlete, you're talking these micro percentages of improvement. We're not talking that, like just like really general health things. It doesn't take a lot to get started. And then once you get going, it even takes less, but it is consistency.
All reps matter.
Yeah.
So even aside from like just the food though, I mean, you got to have what? How many gallons of water does a human being need to survive a day? Between
a gallon.
feeding and drinking, cooking.
Yeah, you could do it in a gallon.
Even after you rehydrate these meals, you think that you'd only need a gallon?
You can survive on a gallon. Like, surviving is not comfortable. Surviving is not clean. But 3 gallons is ideal. A gallon is surviving.
So if you need like the energy, the resources to go out there and build or whatever, maintain or help people put things together and help save lives, how many gallons of water do you think a day? So yeah, on top of that of like your cooking, keeping sanitation.
Yeah, I mean, up to 5.
To 5?
When I have kids, so like washing them, preparing their food, cleaning dishes, purifying water, purifying things like those. A gallon is
survivability, 1 gallon per day per person, and then thriving roughly 5.
That's right. Yep, that's a lot of water.
That is.
Power goes down and you live in an apartment complex, that water's not getting pumped up to your apartment.
You'd have to kind of be prepared for it, like watching the news. So if something was about to happen,
you're
plug
filling
your bathtub.
Yep, filling up your bathtub. The top of your toilet is still potable water. Filling up every single glass and container. But that stationary stagnant water also has a shelf life. So you're ultimately going to have to find a replenishing source of water that you're going to have to purify. Water is the thing of life, and without it, we will not live.
So even though it's stagnant in a thing, you don't think like purifying it is a good idea? So if you have like
water purifiers,
water,
water
that's
purifiers
been
are
sitting out for 10 years.
Water purifiers are the go-to. Like, it's the easiest, most energy efficient, and obviously the most sustainable, most compact, and most mobile. There's lots of different ways to purify water, from iodine to chlorine to boiling to distilling to just water purifying. Like, water purifying is the easiest, but guess what? You have to have a water purifier.
Now, what's your favorite method? Out of all those methods you just described, what would you choose?
Well, it depends on where I'm going and what I'm doing.
If you're at home, just surviving.
So like I am super fortunate because I have a well that I can, and my well water's perfectly drinkable. But then I built a water purifier system into my well. So when it pumps up, it goes into a purifying house before it even comes into the house.
So you like the filtration method?
Yeah.
You'd say is the best?
Yeah. Carbon's awesome. So I have like a synthetic filter and do a carbon filter. Yeah. The water purification and just, it is the easiest and simplest, but that's built into my house. So if I'm going to hop in my Land Cruiser, if I'm going to hop in my truck, if I'm going to go camping, and we're talking like disaster and apocalypse here. I was just camping with my kids.
Worst case scenario.
Like 3 days ago. Like, I had to have purified water. I had to. I was at my buddy's retirement ceremony in Florida, in Pensacola, and I turned on the tap, and the tap reeked. It smelled like it was musky and chlorine.
Almost like something died in it, or more of just chemical driven.
It was, I mean, the chemical smell was very powerful. The chlorine was obvious. And they had water purifiers on the counters. So they'd run the tap into the water purifier, and then like you just go get your, even currently outside of like disaster areas, outside of camping, outside of hiking, just in a first world country in Pensacola, Florida, like a lot of the homes were still purifying water to get the fluoride and the chlorine out.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Why do they put chlorine in water? Like, there's no way that's healthy for you.
Chlorine.
You think it's worse to do that, or like filter out the chlorine?
Back to that risk management, a vulnerable population that is 60% obese.
60%. Is that nationwide?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well, 75% of Americans aren't even eligible to serve in the military because of health.
Which I heard about that.
3/4.
And they even dropped the standards to make it easier. Like, some of the kids that we're getting in, like my unit, like, there's no way you pass basic training. Like, they didn't pass a single physical training exercise in basic training, and they still graduated and sent them to our unit.
How's that possible?
We're talking 19th group SF unit. Like, sure, they're not Green Berets, but the unit standard is 70% each category, and they didn't even do the bare minimum Army standard, and they still graduate them. And it was because this whole COVID demise thing that like, oh, because of COVID, we can't grade people, essentially.
That's going away.
It needs to.
Yeah, it is.
Could you, like, that's, you take these people on a battlefield, and that's when people start dying.
Yeah. Yeah, the battlefield does not care about your race, your religion. It doesn't care about your skin color. It doesn't care about your
feelings.
Nope. It is a meritocracy, and well, the military is back to meritocracy. We're on our way.
Hopefully.
I hope so too.
Because it needs to happen. There's too many people not passing a PT test right now, and that's what's wild to me.
Dude, I'm like on my way to 50, 5 knee surgeries, and like there's one event that I can't max every single time, but I get close, you know? So like, it's not like that. It just like all things takes a little bit of work, like a little bit of constant discipline. It's infuriating. I sympathize. I'm being empathetic to you here.
I mean, it all brings back to like, you just get started, put it in your system, have the discipline to go there and just do the reps.
That's right.
And it gets easier as you go on.
Yeah. Just like preparedness. It's the exact same thing. Like you just start doing the reps. You start doing the things. I have my buddy, Matt Smith, director of training at Sheepdog Response. He was at the unit, command sergeant major on the SF side. He ran the dive school, Halo, like the dude's a gem. And when we talk, he has this rad FJ, total overland guy too, great hunter, real survivalist, real infill expert. And when we start talking about this stuff, I think I know a lot. And I think I'm real OCD about preparedness, you know, like, and then he opens up spreadsheets where it has the expiration of some of his food storage. It has the expiration of some of his canned storage. It has the expiration of some of his dry goods storage. It has, and in like first in, first out, he knows exactly life and shelf life of all of the things. Pre-pack bags to include CBRN stuff with like, you know.
So for those who don't know, what is CBRN?
Chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear. So just like purifying both air and water. How do you survive in a contaminated, it's just contaminated. And is
through radiation or disease or
all the above.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's tons of different levels of type of response. So like, you know, I have a bag, and in that bag, I have child size masks. I have child size suits. I have, you know, tablets. But how much time or money did it take for me to pre-pack that thing for how good I feel that it's packed, it's good, I know how long it's good for, and I'm not going to have to watch my 5-year-old daughter, you know, heaven forbid, have to struggle to breathe contaminated anything. If you think back to 2019,
that would be horrible.
Be horrible. It's my worst nightmare in the world. Think back to 2019, 2020, you know, not to get me infuriated about what COVID was, where it came from, all that stuff. But really at the beginning when people were scared, when like people are running towards
still the unknown.
It's still unknown. Like, is it airborne? What is this thing? Like, obviously couldn't hurt kids, couldn't hurt you, couldn't hurt me. Healthy, not fat, not obese, struggling with a whole bunch of other comorbidities. Like, it's fine. You can inject it into my neck. I'm gonna be fine. You know, like put it into my kids. It doesn't matter. None of them will die from it. And I realized that I hadn't prepared for every eventuality. You know, I had food storage is easy. You know, I can literally just go on and I can buy it, and then I can make it last for X number amount of time for how many people I have by how much storage I have. Like, it's not that difficult. It doesn't take a rocket scientist.
Just have to do a little bit of reading.
Just a little
research.
bit of reading.
Or even calling. I mean, there's so many people out there that could help you out.
Yeah. I mean, you got some wicked smart people here. Like, I'm so happy that you guys are doing this. When we first talked about this, I'm like, because every time I come here, I learn a ton. And like, I'm a 20-year special operations guy that was a firefighter, a police officer, and a hunter, and an overland motorcycler survivalist. So like, I'm into this thing. And then I come here and I'm like, just like when I hang out with Matt Smith, I know nothing. You know, like there's levels to things, and I get to hang out with people that really know their stuff, and the people here really do. And that's why, like, you know, it's like, hey, what do you think about? Yeah, I'll come by, because I get to learn, and it's awesome.
That's what's our food scientist here at JD is phenomenal too.
Dude, that dude is wicked smart.
We spend too many hours talking to him almost because we'll get just listening to him just talk. And I went with him down to SHOT Show.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Like, I was so glad we were in the car together for that 6-hour drive, because it was just 6 hours of picking his brain about everything from protein sources to how your body absorbs
fats
all
and
the
the carbs
nutrients,
and
and it's unbelievable. And like all the things that he's done to like help make this place better.
yeah.
It's really cool.
He also likes good tasting things.
Oh yeah.
You know, like you can almost get by with beans, lard, and rice. Like almost. That would be purgatory. Then a guy like him, where he like hands me what did he give me? He gave me there's like biscuits and gravy.
Oh yeah.
Just eating it raw dog out of the bag. I'm like, this is delicious. Like, this is legitimately delicious. I could sit here and eat the whole entire thing just because it tasted so good. And then like you flip it around, it has everything that you need to not to survive, but to thrive. Everything's in there. All the fats, all the nutrients, all the calories.
Yeah, I definitely just eat those for lunch most of the time, especially if I'm up here at the office. I don't even bring a lunch. It's like, this is good.
Fear is an obstacle that everybody needs to overcome. And I think the fear of the unknown is the scary part to them. They're like, oh man, maybe I don't want to know how much I need to have. Which sounds ludicrous. Like, that idea just blows my mind.
It does, but after seeing everything that's going on,
Yeah,
like,
once
it almost seems normal.
That's right.
That people don't want to know.
But once you like pull back the curtain and realize that it's just smoke and mirrors, that it's not that hard, that like you can literally just pick up the phone and call somebody here and they'll walk you through everything. Like, no, this is cool. You have a family of 5. You want 30 days of food. You want 3 months of food. Not a problem. Here's what you need. You know, like what did I do?
They work with you too. Is like, if you don't have enough money at the beginning too, like, well, like, what's first? What's last?
Yeah, what are our priorities in just surviving? You know, like, obviously we have shelter, then we have water, then we have food, then we have power. Communication, I think, being the yet to be named, but also crucial cornerstone of survival. You know, when we're here and we're playing with the grid doctor, figuring out, okay, how much power do I have to generate to keep my deep freezer going, to keep my communication stuff, my Starlink, which is what I use to talk to everybody. I got my sat phones, but Starlink just solves everything. How much ampage am I using off of that? And then for the comfortability side, yeah, man, I run my espresso machine.
Nice.
You know, during the winter, I'm going to run a constant heater. You know, like, I can use, in replacement of energy, other type of heating tools that take no power, but use like really brilliant science to like heat up some spaces. And that, again, like prolongs the life of how much energy or food or water I have to use. It just takes, pull back the curtain, realize it's not scary, and then jump on board. And a really great thing about this community is how inclusive it is. You know, like, you and I can talk, and the things that I don't know about, you're not like disparaging me, like, you stupid Tim. Oh, God.
Thought you were in the military, bro.
Yeah, I thought you knew about things. They'll be like, hey, have you thought about this?
You
And I'm
ever
like,
been on a helicopter?
no, I haven't, but that's a cooler perspective. That's a neat way to solve that problem. And then, you know, like, well, have you thought about it? It just keeps going. It's so fun. It's such a great community.
It really is. And like, the people who work here, even like in our department of specialists, you know, like, they're phenomenal. I talk to them all the time, just seeing what they deal with every day. And like, we try and answer their questions. I think this podcast would be great because like, we can take people's questions and bring it more to life and help the people who are afraid to ask those questions.
There's lots of questions.
If you were like brand new, how do I break this down? So someone that just knows nothing and they came to you and they were just like, Tim, I have 30 seconds with you. Tell me how I would get started. What would you tell them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with joy, I want them to realize that this is a fun, inclusive community, that it's welcoming, and that the process is a fun process. So in 30 seconds, it would be, well, really appreciate the question. I'm excited that you're interested in this stuff because like everything, especially around sovereignty and freedom, is just on the far side of a little bit of discipline and hard work. So here are the very basic things that we have to understand. How do we purify water? How do we get food? And how do we get power? Like, those very basic things, and they're not hard problems to solve, but we get to solve those problems together. Welcome aboard. Now let's go and have some fun.
So it's like exploring almost.
Yeah. And
Just
it really is.
Explore a whole new environment. You get to try new foods. You get to try different sources. I mean, like, maybe not full on survival school, but it's like intermediate survival school in your own home.
Yeah.
make it like a board game.
And everybody's home is different, from apartment to a suburb to rural to really outliers. Like when we Hurricane Helene from Greensboro to Charlotte into the mountains, people would only be 10 miles apart and their situations would be hanging on by a thread to totally dire to perfectly fine. And they're 5-10 miles from each other. So like your pattern of life, just like our fingerprint and just like our pupil, just like our eyes, everyone's going to be a little bit different. And their solutions are going to be slightly different. Like how many kids do you have? To how many kids do I have? To how big am I? To how many calories? What is my output? All of these things are great problems and they're fun to solve. And then fortunately, some people make it really, really easy to solve some of them because they already have things that fix them.
It'd be hard for me to eat enough calories to sustain my back squat, unfortunately. I'd have to tone it down. Maybe from like 445 to like 405. I don't know.
Man, even when I'm like backcountry, like I'm eating 4, 5, 6,000 calories.
That's true. Like that's pretty much how my deployment was too, because we were essentially backpacking everywhere. Like those MREs that's like supposed to be your 3 meals in a day. I would eat 3 of those a day, and then our 1 week long patrol we did, I came back, I still lost 10 pounds. And this, I didn't look this size. Like I weighed 175 pounds at the time. So like 10 pounds then was a lot. And it's just insane how much your body can burn when it's cold, it's tired, you're lugging equipment up and down mountains all day and night.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to think about. Like if you live in a cold environment and you have to go out and fish for your water, like you're going to need a little bit more calories to start.
Yeah.
And like kind of get in that process. But if you live in a hotter environment, you're from Texas, like I never went to Iraq or anything. I was always up in the mountains. So I got lucky that I went from mountains here in Utah to mountains in Afghanistan. But I'm sure you've been to Iraq and like you live in Texas, like the desert scene. What's your experience between calorie burning in those environments?
Both extreme cold and extreme hot, you find exactly what you're saying. It's just more. Like when you're super hot, you don't want to eat, but you have to eat. When you're super cold, you don't want to eat, but you have to eat because on both sets of outliers, you're just burning more calories. You're sweating more. You look at the people in tropical climates, the Haitians, the Dominicans, you go into Central America, Northern South America, and you're like, these are small, skinny people. Yeah, they have to be because they just burn sweat and heat all day long. Then you get up into really cold climates where people are living in the cold. I'm not talking Anchorage, Alaska. I'm talking cold and you're out in the cold. They're fighting for calories. So on both ends of the extreme, you need lots. You need more calories than like right now. This is pretty nice weather.
Yeah. It's like 75 degrees outside.
Pretty nice.
It is nice. Other than it's windy, super windy.
Yeah. I think that's just pre-storm. You guys got some bad weather coming in. It's also like from this morning, I could feel pressure change in like the Salt Lake Basin. Like the wind started and you could literally feel like the atmospheric pressure change. So you got some stuff coming.
Do you feel it from having surgeries? Like sometimes
yeah.
I feel it with like, I've had 4 ankle surgeries.
That makes us sound so old. Can we not talk about this?
Yeah.
Like the rain's coming. I feel it in my knee.
33 years old. I've had 7 surgeries.
Yeah. No, but it's true. Like you just know it's coming and you feel it.
Let's go over a little bit, just kind of cover like the whole trade war going on with China.
God, they're the
the
worst.
Supply chain collapse.
Ugh.
Empty ports. Tim, I want to hear all your thoughts. Let's talk China. We're already in a full-blown trade war.
Yep.
Where do you think this is heading?
War. Yep, we've been at war for a really, really long time.
Like a proxy war?
We've been in
it's not
proxy
a violent war because we're not shooting bullets at each other yet.
Are we in diplomatic war with them right now?
For sure.
Absolutely. Are we in an information war with them? Absolutely. Are we in an economic war with them?
They've always been trying to hack into our systems of everything we own.
Yeah, economic. Are we in an economic war with them? Absolutely. So, like in all of the different ways that we could wage war, we are at war with them in multiple different.
But this isn't just new from Trump. Like this has been going on from like when they flew a balloon over.
No, this goes back to Bush, where it's been.
You think that's
overt.
where that started, from your perspective?
No, I think it started before that. But the overt efforts of trying to infiltrate Africa and support via proxies because they're peer level adversaries, their return on, like if you look at Iran funding Hamas and how they spent $200 million in preparation for the October attack. $200 million, that is pennies. It's pennies. We spent that in 2 months being in the Gulf.
That's insane.
They kicked off a conflict that has cost tens of billions of dollars, and they did it with an investment of $200 million into a radical terrorist group.
On that scale, like that is pennies.
Yeah,
like just
pennies.
chump change.
You know,
and that starts from them just being radicalized.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So China, Iran, Russia, both via proxy wars, the rules of war, that large uniformed maneuver warfare that the American military and the 4 stars have so desperately wanted, because they can have programs of record that they get to hand off to the Halliburtons and the Raytheons and the Lockheed Martins. It's never going to happen. That war is done. That war died in Korea. We'll never have that war again. And they have not yet accepted that. Hegseth has, Waltz had, Dr. Gorka has, like National Security Council, Tulsi Gabbard. They are well aware that the way that the American military had prepared and has been preparing to fight a war for the past 60 years, we're never going to fight. It's going to be $300 drones that are taking down $5 million drones.
That's what's going on right now.
That's right.
Just Ukraine and Russia.
Yep. It's going to be looking for opportunities to stoke fires of hate, and then using a catalyst to kick off some form of insurgency or an insurrection in an already vulnerable country that was using the dollar. I just listed 5 different countries that happened to in the past 3 years in Africa.
That's wild.
Yeah, but they're doing it systematically, and we are there. And Americans do not understand how vulnerable just the American citizen is.
So that definitely like affects us. If like Hamas attacking Israel, because there's a lot of people who speculate, it's like, why are we involved in this? What is your thoughts on that? Is it a good thing that we're involved in that whole war structure, or?
I don't know. I don't want any terrorist group to have the ability to prepare to do attacks on anyone, anywhere, for any reason. So like Pakistan, Hamas in Gaza and Palestine, the Houthis, the Hezbollah, to VEOs in Africa, the Boko Harams, Al Qaeda's, I don't want a safe haven for any of them to thrive, because they hate us and they hate our way of life. And I know, as a father of 4, that if one of my kids had been kidnapped and brought into those tunnels, I would go scorched earth. I would level every building. There would be glass until I found my kids. And that was the intent of the attack. They didn't rape and murder and torture for any other reason besides to elicit an extreme response. That's the definition of terrorism. And that's exactly what they as terrorists did. Should we be involved?
Growing up, my mother is a veteran as well. But like when I was younger, at a younger age, I asked her once, I was like, why are we involved in these wars overseas that I hear about in the news, that they tell us about in schools? And her only response was, do you think it's better that we have this war in someone else's country, or do you want it here and watch your own family members die that can't fight? It's a sad reality. And then after I joined and went over myself and overseas, I really got to see kind of the hatred that people grow up just hating this country for no reason at all. They don't know us.
Yeah.
I even have an interesting story from when we were in Afghanistan. We were in a small village, right? Like we had to hike into it. It was like a 4 or 5 hour hike just from like a dirt road that even carried our Humvees up over some mountains. And this dude came down to us, spoke perfect English, better than some guys in our own boat too. And I was like, how do you know English so well? And he's like, well, I joined this group from Pakistan. We went to Pakistan. They sent me over to, I can't remember what school it was, but one of the colleges here in the United States. And the whole goal was, you go there, you learn English, you get a degree, you study the American people, you go back to Pakistan to this organization. And now that you've studied, you know how Americans are, they act, then you use that knowledge to come back and kill us. And he's like, when I was over there though, I just decided that Americans aren't bad people. Yeah. They're just trying to live like everyone else. And I didn't want to be a part of that. So I came back home and this is where I live.
What a neat guy.
Yeah.
What a smart
I was like,
guy.
well, thank you for not killing us. You know, like we definitely do our best to we're trying to do humanitarian stuff around there and brought in a lot of food and like water to some of those villages. But it was cool to just hear that perspective. And I'm glad he had a good college experience.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
me too.
So from ammo to antibiotics and food and everything, like the whole supply chain thing is very complex. Are we sleepwalking into another supply chain disaster? Tell us a little bit about your thoughts.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a period of time where we have moved so much manufacturing overseas. We have moved so many crucial jobs and skilled jobs overseas as creatures of comfort, like, oh, I don't want to do that, or that's not like a sexy job, that now we recognize, we've realized that a whole bunch of those crucial industries we don't have. It's a national strategic problem because we don't have that capability here. From clothes to ammunition to antibiotics to car manufacturing to food synthesizing to insulin production to, like, the list goes on and on and on of how many things that we have put off overseas. And, you know, one of the major efforts of these tariffs is to force American companies to bring back American manufacturing, where now they're incentivized to make products here with the American materials, and then will penalize other people that are literally just trying to bleed us down to death. Like, those countries, they don't care about us. They care about our money. They care about access to the consumer. They care that they're able to just sit there and milk us until we're dead and dry.
But even like a lot of American-made products, they still rely on other countries to source them the materials they need to even make those products. Do you think that's going to affect us as well? I mean, it kind of is in terms of right now, but like even in long-term standing, if we don't like mine our own resources or anything like that, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's long overdue where Americans supported Americans, where the American consumer supported American companies, where the American industry recognized that American labor is the best labor. All those things are complementary when they're organized right, and they just haven't been for the past 50, 60 years. And we've been just handing the keys to the castle to our adversaries. Now we're, I think, unfortunately, eyes wide open in full realization mode that we messed up, that we need to bring manufacturing back, that trade wars are going to happen. There are going to be shortages. There are going to be food supply shortages. There will be, you know, like heaven forbid, but there will be power outages. We have a very, very, very vulnerable network, very vulnerable grid, and our adversaries know that. So, like, they don't want stable. Stable means secure. Stable and secure means opportunity for us to expand and grow. Keeping us on our heels is ultimately their objective.
I know they bring a lot of, at least more on the liberal side of media things. They talk about, well, no one wants to work in these factories. Like,
that's not true.
But
it's not true.
If there's jobs and they have desired salaries and stuff, like, I don't see why not.
Yeah, the economy is shifting and changing. Those jobs have been demonized. Those jobs have been like, you know, like blue collar labor. Like you can't work in a factory. It's go to Origin. Go to Jocko Willink's company and look at what the culture is like to work there. Go to Montana Knife Company. Like, these are American-made, American-owned companies with American materials, with American-sourced materials. And, like, go in the back here. Like, go look at the culture of the people that get to work together, that go in, like, as you go crack one of these things open and eat your work, and before you go work out with your wife in the evening, like, the pendulum is swinging back towards rational and logical and American.
Even in terms of weightlifting stuff, like, I mean, Rogue, right? American Steel.
Yeah.
Proud to have my Rogue barbell.
If you just spend a little bit of time, you can find all of the amazing companies that support them. And we just have to get back to that. Like, yes, we can go ahead and tax the countries that have had access to our consumers and then have been taxing us for our exports. That's not fair trade. How is that fair? Okay, so, like, let's have fair trade. If you want access to the American consumer, and we consume a lot, then you have to give us fair trade to access to export our products to you. Instead, you're taxing us 60, 70, 80% and wanting to have access to the American people for free. Get out of here. You know, like, no, it's time for it to be fair again. And there was no income tax for Americans for 150 years.
Unfortunately, not in my lifetime.
No, not in our lifetime. They survived off tariffs that funded the whole entire government. Think about that. Do you know what we could do with extra 45% of our money?
I feel like, well, I guess if it's just income tax, that's right, 45%. I could do a lot.
Just actual penalized, deducted.
My wife wouldn't have to work.
No.
And it would be great because then, Like that's kind of where we're at right now. We got a newborn, 7 months old from the time of this, and we're stoked. But now like it's causing a lot of stress. Like she went part-time. There's a significant loss right there.
Yeah.
And now like we also introduce like thing that needs to eat. And
But cost money. Diapers are expensive.
Oh, they are. And formula and all the food. I'm starting to realize that. So it's like, okay, we lost this amount of income, plus we're spending this much more. We're like not really saving anything. And it's just like, that's all I think about. If we didn't have income tax, she could just quit her job. And like, not only would we be okay, we would be thriving much more.
We'll get there. We're on our way back there, I hope.
Hopefully. Just got to get out of the habit of wanting cheap crap too.
Yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and it's better to buy once and cry once. You know, like I get it. I'm kind of a gear nerd. I buy good stuff one time. You know, it's better to have, you know, a real proper solar panels to go with your solar generator than in my case. We've talked about this. I'm not going to name drop, but I went through 3 or 4 different battery packs. You know, like some of the companies don't even exist anymore. Like Goal Zero, what was that one?
Yeah, I think they're either in the verge of going out of business or they are completely out.
Like that was like when I was in Ukraine. Like that's the one that was I was using, and they lasted for a little bit of time, and then they didn't. So like I'd rather buy the good rifle with the good optic that one time. You know, I'd rather like figure out how do I purify water so I have sustainable water with a system that I have confidence is giving me really good purified water for a long time. And I only have to do that one time, and then I'm free of it.
I've drank a lot of water out of our filters here. Like I'm talking Slot Canyon's place where it's just murky, gross. Up at the hot springs, whenever we go, I just bring the purifier with me rather than carrying water, and it pulls all the flavor out, everything. Like I've been pretty impressed with our product. Never gotten sick. Always went back home feeling 100%. Yeah, I actually, even out of our tap, I filter it always.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling Seth when I was in Florida, I walked in, I was like, dude, that's like where the water purifier is, like sitting right here on my friend's counter. It was awesome. You know, my son is doing a science project. You know, he's using your space heater, like talking about the thermoelectric generators and how that works. And he has like the fold out tri-board. You know, he's like, introduction, hi, I'm Rollo Kennedy, and my science project today is thermoelectric power. And it's just so cool that you can get the good stuff from the right people that are experts in it and that make it the right way.
It is cool. Like, I mean, when we first came out with the little Vestas space heater, I was like, it seems interesting in theory, you know.
Yeah.
But then I used it a few times.
That's legit.
And like, okay.
Yes.
Wife loves it. I love it. We take it camping with us and
cook on it.
Happier. She loves it. I'm like, she's like willing to actually go camping when it's a bit colder now. She's like, well, if we take that, I'll be fine. Like, okay, I'll load it up.
3 of them little 6-hour candles drop down to the bottom. That thing gets freaking hot.
Yeah.
Like, don't touch it. And it heats up. I mean, it would heat up this whole entire room, like easily.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
We even did a segment where we brought one of those big freezer reefer trucks out here. And like, I mean, of course we like shut off the freezers first, but it was still 40 degrees outside. It was winter time. And between the outside being freezing and then it started about, I think it was like closer to 0 degrees inside the truck, our equipment froze over. We had to stop, but within, I think it was like 30 minutes or so. I don't remember the exact timing. We have it all in our video though, but it heated up the freezer truck. So like where it was comfortable, where by the end of it, we had our gloves off.
Yeah.
Things were thawing out.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Well, Tim, I do appreciate you stopping by here.
Yeah.
It's good to talk to a fellow veteran.
Yes, sir.
Someone who's probably done way more than me, obviously.
No, not really. We're all doing the same thing, like carrying weight and trying not to die, not getting in trouble for doing something stupid.
Trying to keep our head on straight.
That's right.
Not piss off the wrong people.
Well, I appreciate you. When I reach out occasionally and you give me your little nuggets of expertise and insight, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I always try and be helpful when I can.
You are.
Well, cool. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for watching and listening in and join us. Make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next podcast. Let's bring in some more professionals here and talk about how we can better benefit you. So be sure to comment. Tell us like what your thoughts are. Tell us what you would like to know. What do you guys want to hear about? I mean, we have the incredible Tim Kennedy here. We can bring anyone. I'm sure of it. So let's do some awesome work together. Thanks, guys.